consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees, global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408 335 6444 or mail us at nipa@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com. Hello, everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you've joined us from. Thank you so much for joining us here at Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. This is Nipasa Pradhan, and I'm going to be your host for today. But before we start off, and we welcome our guest, and I tell you about the topic, I have this very important disclaimer to read out. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. So, use of information is at your own risk. Thank you so much, friends. And yes, we are streaming live currently on YouTube and Facebook. So, wherever you're watching us, feel free to comment, and we will be having our expert, and none other than immigration attorney Prashanthi Reddy, who has been a very regular guest in our show. She's going to join us, and she has been practicing immigration law for over 27 years now. So it's going to be great to have her advise us. And of course, today's topic is very exciting as well. And I hope you two are excited because we are going to discuss about, well, how can one qualify for an employment based green card in the US? And if you have any questions on this, feel free to comment. We will be very happy to take them. But for now, please help me welcome our guest to this show once again. How are you doing, Prashanthi? Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm also doing good. And I'm excited about this topic. I mean, I think it's always been ever increasing, employment based green card. Everybody is seeking to go live their American dream. So, what can friends expect from us in this webinar today?
Um, we're going to leave it open for questions today. We decided to do an AMA, as you know, ask me anything, and you can ask anything. But we would like it if you asked us some questions on employment-based green card, though, because that's the topic for the AMA today. But of course, anything immigration related is welcome.
Absolutely. As Prashanti has already said, ask me anything session, friends. So, anything related to immigration, jobs, and especially employment based green card, feel free to drop your questions. All right. And Prashanti, how has it been otherwise with you and everything around, especially after the attempt of assassination for Donald Trump? Everything has been so hot, and people are very, how to say, aggressive on what is going to happen. And they've become very vocal about their political thoughts as well. So, what do you have to say about that?
Well, we did a whole show, right? We should do some more shows about how it'll impact immigration law, the immigration practice, and also for you guys there, for your green cards, for people on H1, any non-immigrant. If you're a U.S. citizen, it won't impact you much, but otherwise, it'll impact you in some way or the other. Politics and policy always impact immigration law first. So, that's a hot topic always with, all political parties. So there will be some impact depending on who comes in. Um, you know, Status quo versus grid versus negative impact is the only difference. If the Democrats come in, it'll be status quo, or they might be able to make some minor reforms with executive orders. So the
Mhm.
big reform will happen only if both parties work together. and decide to do some reform, or if one party has a majority in the Senate and the House, which hasn't happened for many many years now. It's
Mhm,
always been
mhm,
split, and so no big reform, no big laws can be passed on immigration until that happens. But
mhm.
if the Republicans come in, get worse. So it won't be status quo, it'll get worse in every way
Yes.
possible. Whatever they can do with executive orders or with actually enforcement or with how USCIS approves cases, all that will become stricter. So yeah, we are watching and waiting, and the this election has an impact on everyone. I mean, we are only here to discuss immigration, but on many other issues as well. But from the immigration point of view, since our whole show is about immigration, and
Mm, yeah.
that
Yes.
will have a negative impact for sure.
Well, we still have a couple more months, so let's stay hopeful, I think, till then. Anyway, to start off, let's get off with this question I got for you on the screen. Which employment based green card categories offer the easiest path to permanent residency?
Um, I mean, the labor cert path is not very difficult. It's both the EB2 and EB3 are um, paths where if you have an employer and if they petition for you, you can get a green card. So you have to file a labor cert, then you have to file an I-140, and then when your visa number becomes available, you have to file a 485. So it's easy. It's just that it's time consuming. Processing times are long, and also visa numbers are not available. But getting an approval is not that difficult. But if you're talking about processing times, then from the processing time point of view, which is the quickest way to get a green card, if that is your question, not easiest, then EB1, employment based category one, is doing, is the best out of one, two, three, and four, and five.
Mhm,
Because employment based category five is the entrepreneurial visa, and that's also the processing time is so long that it just uh, no point in filing for it. So I would say EB1 is best from the time point of view, but it's difficult to get an EB1 from the process point of view, getting an approval. But from the
mhm.
approval point of view, the EB2 and EB3 are the easiest.
Thank you, Prashanti. Thank you. So, I hope folks out there are pretty excited and are really getting engrossed as we are diving into this topic one step at a time. Well, I'll just quickly say hi, Prashanti. Thank you so much, Nilesh, Bipasha, Meena, Ravi, Rag, Bipin. We are going to take your questions for sure. Sangeet, we also have, wow, multiple questions from them. So, Athota, thank you so much for your questions. Let's get into them, I think. Let's quickly take Nilesh's question. This is on YouTube. Nilesh is asking, what is the criteria of EB2 NIW approval chances for person working in USA as data analyst?
Well, that really depends on. It's not enough if you just give me the information that you're a data analyst. If you're a data analyst, you're one among millions, and the national interest waiver is not for all data analysts, right? So it is for people. So I mean, your question is fair with reference to what are the criteria for EB2 national interest waiver, and I will tell you what those criteria is. Um, it's not extraordinary ability as it is in EB1. For EB2
Hmm.
national interest waiver, it is um, exceptional ability, which means you're better than everyone else.
Hmm.
And also, whatever you're doing is in the national interest of the country. So those are the
Yes.
criteria that you have to meet. That you're exceptional, meaning you may not be extraordinary, meaning you didn't win the Nobel Prize, you're not in the top 1% maybe, but you're still exceptional in your job.
Mhm.
And there are many ways of showing, that you're exceptional. And that's the story that we have to make. And every story it's based on the story, whether you'll get an approval or not. Chances of approval are good if you're exceptional, otherwise they're not. What is the
Mhm.
definition of exceptional? You have to go to the dictionary and look at what exceptional is. That's what USCIS means as well. If you're above everyone else, then you're exceptional. If you're a regular data analyst, then you won't get the EB2 national interest waiver. So exceptional is the key.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nilesh, for your question. I hope that answers. But I just want to say, folks, if you could also tell us which city you're writing to us from, and maybe tell us more about what your status is, maybe, and we could provide you with better answers, precise answers. But thank you so much. Bipasha says, I cannot hear. I hope everyone can hear us. I hope you can hear us by now, Bipasha. Thank you so much for letting us know. Um, all right, let's move on to the next question that we got from Mina on YouTube. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm told that we are all able to hear now. Thank you so much. Well, Mina is asking, what is the impact of priority dates on the timeline for receiving an employment based green card? And how can I monitor and expedite my priority date to minimize delays in the process?
What's the impact of priority dates on the timeline for receiving an employment-based green card? And I'm just reading the question out again. How can I monitor and expedite my priority date to minimize delays in the process? So obviously the priority dates will impact when you get your green card, because unless the priority date is available for you, you cannot file the final step of the green card, which is the 485. And once you file your 485, so once the priority date becomes available, then you file your 485. Then it takes 10 to 12 months for the 485 to get approved, provided that your priority dates still remain current. Uh, and if they become uncurrent, if they retrogress at some point of time while your 485 is pending, then your 485 will keep on being pending, right? It'll continue to be pending. If your priority date is not available before you file your 485, then you cannot file the 485. Obviously, you'll just be on an I-140 status, and you'll continue to be on a H-1 status. And with your I-140s, you'll be able to then, get continuous approvals, unlimited approvals on your H-1B extensions. Right, so
Mhm.
there is an advantage of starting your green card, but timeline wise, unless your priority date is available, you cannot file the green card and you cannot get a green card. So it has a huge impact. Priority dates are the whole issue right now. There's a huge problem with priority dates for India and China. They're being so backlogged. Nobody's getting their green card. So that is a huge problem right now. How do I minimize the priority date time? By filing in a category which does not have as much weight as the other categories which are backlogged. But not everyone can file in those categories. You have to qualify for them. So EB1 would be a good category to file in, but you actually have to qualify for an EB1 to be able to file. An EB1 is extraordinary ability. It's also multinational executives. So if you are working as a top level executive in a company abroad for a period of 1 year, and then you're moving here to work as a top level executive for a qualifying company in the US, if there's a qualifying relationship between the two companies, then that would be EB1 multinational executive. So these are the two EB1s that you could qualify for.
Very interesting. And thank you so much for making that clear for Mina. Mina, I hope that was pretty helpful. Thank you for your question. And if you have any further questions, we're here for some more time. Well, this next one is a question we received from a user on WhatsApp. And the question is, how does the priority date system affect the waiting period for employment based green card applicants?
We just answered that, right, Nipasa? Priority
Yeah, we
date
just.
impact. Yeah, we just answered that.
All right, I have another one. And how do different employment based green card preferences impact eligibility and application processes?
How do different
Hold on.
priority date? Oh, yeah. If you can just put the question on so everyone can read it also.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. How do different employment-based green card preferences impact eligibility and application processes? Again, similar to the previous question, so I'll talk a little bit more about the
Sure.
same topic. Um, so let's talk about the visa bulletin then, because I think that's what the question is about. There are a certain number of green cards issued every year,
Hmm.
and From the total number of employment-based green cards, 7% of the green cards go to each country. So Indian nationals get 7% of those green cards. And again, based on some numbers fall down and fall up from all the different categories. There's also a fall down and fall up process from the family-based numbers. So every year
Yes.
there's a certain number of green card numbers available.
Hmm.
So you know in the beginning of the year what that number is. It's about 160 to 190,000. During COVID, it was over 250,000
Hmm.
because the numbers were not being used at the consulates, so there were no more numbers here for people who were adjusting in the United States, right? So
Okay.
um, based on those numbers, then the visa bulletin is issued every month. They have a visa bulletin. You go to travel.gov to look at the visa bulletin. You'll have
Hmm.
for employment based, you'll have two tables there. There's dates for filing and final action dates. USCIS will let you know which table to look at. Usually during the beginning of the fiscal year, which starts October and ends in October, the final action date, the dates for filing table is looked at. The dates for
Hmm.
filing table usually looks better than the final action date table because they're
Hmm.
allowing you to file your green card in advance, hoping that while your green card is being processed, your priority date may become available. So
Right.
they're allowing you advance filing. Um,
Right.
rest of the year, usually USCIS will ask you to look at the final action date table. Now that
Hmm.
you've established which table you need to look at, you need to see what your priority date is. Your priority date is available on your I-140 approval. It is also the date that you file your labor certification. If you have a labor certification in your type of green card filing. For EB1 cases, you may not have a labor certification. So you just
Hmm.
have to look at the date that's on your I-140, which is the date for filing the I-140, not the date for filing the labor. Once you've
Okay.
established the priority date, now you go to the table and see what priority date they're working on. And if your date has passed, then you can file your green card, which is the final step of the green card, which is the 485. Now, those
Okay.
dates are for Indian nationals, they're 2012 for EB2 and EB3. So there is a long wait. For EB2, EB1, I believe it's not that such a long wait. It's
Hmm.
2021, if I remember correctly. So there's a few years waiting, but not that long.
All right.
Uh, So there's a couple of years waiting, maybe 2 to 3 years for EB1. For EB2 and EB3, there's 12 years, 10 years plus waiting period. So that does significantly affect your the
It does.
preference categories then does affect the eligibility to file for the final 485. EB1, the
Yes.
dates that the reason why the dates are better than EB2 and EB3 is there's less demand for EB1 because there are less number of people who qualify for an EB1. For EB2 or EB3, there's more demand, therefore
Mm-hmm.
there is more backlog because there are more people that qualify for EB2, which is based on a master's degree. So if your job requires an advanced degree, it's EB2. If your job requires a bachelor's degree, then it's EB3. So a lot of people qualify, as you can see, based on the criteria for qualification.
Right.
That's why there is more demand and less supply, and priority dates have retrogressed.
Right, right. Well, but for what would you suggest? I mean, which employment-based green card would you suggest for Indians or folks from China out there? Since
Uh,
this
as
has a
as I
lot
was
of.
saying, yes, as I was saying, EB1, but not everyone
Mhm.
qualifies for EB.
Right, right. Any other categories?
No,
Okay. Thank you, Prashanthi. Thank you for taking that up. We have another question for you, and this is also on WhatsApp we received. I hope folks can tell us who is this also. Are there any special provisions or categories for entrepreneurs and investors who want to apply for employment-based green cards?
great. I'm glad you got took up this question because I was just going to talk about EB5. But the
Mhm.
reason I'm saying EB5, so employment-based category 5 is for the investor visa. And if you're investing a certain amount of money, 900,000, I believe it's 900,000 for the underserved areas, meaning that if you're in an area of high unemployment, You have to invest a certain amount of money, and you have to invest more, 1.2 million, I believe it is, if my memory serves me correct. If you're and you have to invest a lot, that greater amount if you're investing in a regular area. So there's a difference between underserved and regular areas, high unemployment areas and regular areas, so where there's no high unemployment. So EB5 is investor visa. You invest that amount of money. You could either invest into a regional center where everything is set up for you. You're a passive investor, or you
Mhm.
can invest in your own business. In which case, then you have to show the investment and you have to show that it's being used in that business. Now, the problem with EB5 is while the priority dates for China again are backlog, but India, the priority date is available, even though there are only a certain number of visas available, again, even in the EB5. But it's
Mhm.
not that backlogged for EB5. But the problem for EB5 is the processing time is the problem. So there are two steps for processing. First, you get the temporary green card by filing
Okay.
the first step, and then you get the permanent green card after staying on that temporary green card for 2 years. So the first step itself is taking 4 years for them to process the case. So you have
Okay.
to, your money is stuck in the United States, the 1 million or 1.2 million that you're investing in the United States will be stuck for a period of 4 years or 5 years, the amount that it takes for them to process the case. And by then,
Mhm.
if you still have a business, if someone else is running it, or if you're investing in a passive in a regional center, and if then the visa number is available, then you can definitely file for EB5. And after a period of 2 years, then you can file for the getting a permanent green card. And again, there is a processing time for that also, which is again several years. So we're talking about, easily 7, 8, sometimes maybe even 10 years for the EB5 as well right now, considering the
Wow.
processing times.
That's a long time. I mean, a decade is not a joke.
Right. But the EB2 and EB3 is no better. So you just have to see what works, what is best for you.
Right.
And there are no good options right now, and not many people, as I said, qualify for EB1. The L1 based multinational category, a lot more people qualify, so that's something to look into, um, to work as a top executive
Mhm.
for a period of 1 year outside the country in a parent company, and then come back to the subsidiary company and or vice versa, and work in the same category to get your EB1 approved. A lot of people working in big companies, Cognizant, TCS, etc., they file EB1 on this basis, and they come directly on a green card as well. So something to think about.
Right.
Not to say that if you're working for a smaller company, you can't uh, get one approved, but you have to meet all the criteria.
Right. But I mean, this is good news, I think, for rich folks out there who can actually become investors and go get employed. I mean, people employed out there. So look onto this EB5 category as well. And thank you so much, Prashanthi, for taking this up. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Let's take this up from the audience out there. This is Ravi G on YouTube asking any DHS email ID to reach USCIS for a case to inquire Vermont and Nebraska Service Center on PP case.
I don't have it offhand with me. Premium processing, they do have their own um, emails, and you can reach out to them directly. But I don't have it on me right offhand, so you could maybe reach out to me via my email after the show, and I will send it to you.
For sure, friends. And that's right. You can contact Prashanthi Reddy. Her details are on the screen. You can call her on the number 212-354-1010. Once again, I repeat, you can note down her number 212-354-1010. And definitely go mail her at prashanthi at reddyesq.com. Prashanthi at the rate reddyesq.com. And definitely go check out her website, readyesq.com, to get to know more about her and also the law offices of Prashanthi Reddy. Well, Let's move on, Prashanti. We got more questions from friends out there. So let's go on to this next one. This is from Bipasha. What are the different employment based green card categories that I might qualify for with an undergraduate degree in IT?
If you don't have a master's degree, but you have a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience, and if your job requires a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience, then you could qualify for EB2. Uh, or if that doesn't apply, then you could definitely qualify for EB3 employment based category. And EB3 and EB2 really are, there's not much difference right now in the visa numbers, in the priority date, so either will be fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Bipasha, all the best. I hope you look up to this and I hope that you can crack it. Let's move on now to this next one. This is also on YouTube. Rag. Rag is asking, is the EB1C relatively easier than EB1A, EB2 NIW, or the EB1B?
Uh, what is the EB1C? I don't recall what it is. Can you, Raghav, can you tell me which one you're referring to? Is it the multinational executives, which is EB1C? Maybe he can just add another question and then I'll answer it.
Sure, Rag, we will look up to your question. Thank you so much. Otherwise, and all right, let's take up another one now. This one is Bipin. Once I-140 is approved, I heard that you can transfer your green card process to a new company. What are the steps to transfer your green card from your current company into a new one? Uh, there's
Um,
actually information. I'll just read it out in case it's connected. Also, what would happen to I-140? Sorry, I-485, since it will be in process? I would really appreciate it if you could give me some guidance.
yeah, so once the I-140 is approved, um, it depends on what your status is at that particular point of time in order to transfer your um, green card processing. So you could start off with, um, I guess, letting me know what is your status right now. But let's just look at both scenarios. If you have not yet filed your 485 yet, and if you have um filed, say, your I-140 and it is approved, which you say it is, then what you could do is you could, if 6 months is over, even if your I-140 gets withdrawn by your previous employer, you could file for your labor cert again and then transfer the priority date of your I-140,
Okay.
right? So you don't lose, at least that window is still open for you, that priority date is still available for you, so you can use it in that way.
Okay.
But if the I-485 is already filed and if it's in process, then you don't really have to do much. You have to file for a request for AC-21, a 485J to USCIS, provided that the new job opportunity is the same or similar, the job is same or similar to your previous job opportunity based on which the green card was filed. And provided their I-140 is approved, and provided it has been 6 months since your 485 has been filed. So I-140 approval, 6 months from the 485 being filed, job opportunity same or similar, then you file an AC-21 request through a form called a 485J to ask for your green card application to be transferred to your new employer. The employer also
180D.
signs, yes, the employer also signs the 485J and you have to sign it as well. And, it's a very
Okay.
simple process.
Okay. Okay. So as long as you stick to the rules, it's not going to be very hard. Bipin, thank you so much for your question, and I hope that Prashanti has answered very clearly. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up. And I think we will quickly go for a break now. It's a time to take a short break, friends. And if you have further questions or you want to contact Prashanti directly, why not contact her? Her number is 212-354-1010. Her email address is prashanti at readyesq.com. It's displayed on the screen. Please note down the spelling. And also check out her website, readyesq.com, for more details on the law offices of Prashanti Reddy. Well, Prashanti will just quickly go for a short break, and then we will definitely discuss further on how can one qualify for an employment-based green card in the US. Thank you, friends, for staying with us. Don't go anywhere because there's so much more to discuss on this. All right.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408 335 6444 or mail us at nipa@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Hello and welcome back, friends, to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. This is Nipasa Pradhan, and welcome back to this second half of the webinar we are having today on this topic. How can How can one qualify for an employment based green card in the US? So, friends, I hope that you have joined us for some time now, and we are discussing on this. We have been discussing with none other than our guest for today, Attorney Prashanthi Reddy. So, it's been good so far, and discussion has been very interesting. Thank you for your questions as well. You make this session a very interesting one. It's an Ask Me Anything session. So feel free to ask anything as long as it's related to immigration and jobs, and especially on this topic, employment based green card in the US. Thank you so much. Well, Prashanthi, I hope you're enjoying so far. The questions are interesting.
They're all related to the topic, so they're great. I think we should discuss about that EB1C, the multinational executives. We should take up that question.
Okay, sure, we will. So the question is from Rag. Is the EB1C relatively easier than EB1A, EB2 NIW, or the EB1B?
Right. So EB1C is, I think, based on multinational executives. So he's saying, is that better since we were discussing about that particular visa and how more people qualify for that compared to, extraordinary ability, which is EB1A, exceptional ability, which is the national interest waiver, and the extraordinary research category, which is EB1B. So definitely EB1C is definitely and obviously more easier because there are many more people in a executive role than there are people who are extraordinary. So based on that itself, I think it's easier if you are in a leading role, um, provided you're in a leading role to qualify and apply for this EB1C category. I'm not saying it's easy because a lot of cases get denied as well. There's a lot of documentation to be provided and
Yeah.
a lot of proof, evidence that you're actually working in an executive role. Even if you're the owner of the company, sometimes it's difficult to show that you're actually working in an executive role, especially if they're sometimes in smaller companies where no one else is taking care of the administrative part of it. They might
Mhm.
just say that, oh, you are working, but you're doing more administrative tasks than executive tasks, therefore you don't qualify. So there are a lot of nuances to it, and sometimes cases do get denied. It's not as easy as the H1 is now. So yeah, but if done properly and if you do qualify, there's a good chance of getting an approval in this category.
Right.
Most people,
Very
most
rightly
people
put.
will,
Yeah.
yeah, most people will take the route of coming on an L1A first and then filing for a green card based on, EB1 C. But you can also come directly on an EB1C.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Rag. I hope that answers your question. And yes, all the best. I think I'd always say, do you need an attorney? Yes, you do need an attorney because that way you will be on the right path and will be guided properly. And I don't think there will be any chances of rejection. So, all the best. Go ahead with it. All right, let's move on now. Since it's an AMA session, let's quickly take up the other questions now. This is from Sangeet on YouTube again. I am currently working in UK. A potential employer is willing to file my employment-based green card, EB2 or EB3 rest of the world category. I will be in US while green card is filed and will continue to work for UK employer until the green card is approved. Would there be any issues with it? I would also like to travel back and forth to UK while I can. How long does it take to get EAD if I got for perm processing for labor?
Labor. Oh, okay. So, with reference to the processing of a green card while you're outside the country, it's a little different from processing of the green card while you're in the country. So while the
Okay.
case is being processed, you cannot apply for work authorization or EAD or anything of that. It doesn't apply. So you
Okay.
have to wait until you actually get the green card before you can come into the country and before you're work authorized. Once you get the green card, you're work authorized. So what is the question? Would there be any issue with it? I mean, it's like filing a green card. So you have to go through the labor cert process and then you have to get the I-140 approved. Once the I-140 is approved for consular processing, then you have to file for immigrant visa petition through
Mhm.
NVC, which is the National Visa Center. And once they approve it, then it goes to the consulate, um, depending on wherever you're living. And then if your priority date is available, then the consulate will call you for an interview and they will approve your immigrant visa petition. And you come in on an immigrant visa. And when you come in, they'll process your immigrant visa at the port of entry itself. And in a few months, you will get a green card in the mail. That's how it works.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking that up. And Sangeet, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for your question. We got Bipin again with more questions. So let's take this up. Bipin says, once I-140 is approved, I heard that you can transfer your green card process to a new company. What are the steps to transfer your green card from your current company into a new one? Also, what would happen to I-140 since it will be in process? I would really appreciate it if you could give me some guidance.
We already discussed this.
Yes, we
We
already. It's
discussed this
double. I
exactly. Yeah.
think. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming twice. I think it's paired, maybe through your channel as well. So sorry about
Ah,
that, but we've already
no
answered
problem.
Bipin. I hope. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on now. Bipasha's question on YouTube. If you apply for an H1B visa and you get rejected 3 times, will you be able to apply for another visa type?
Yes, you can apply any number of times. There's no magic number to it. If you're rejected 3 times, you can't apply again. You can reapply for the same H1B visa, you may not get it, or you can apply for another type of visa.
Okay. All the best, Bipasha. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for your question. All right, let's move on to this next one. This is Adhota. Currently, I have approved I-140 and also have completed 180 days. If I'll change the employer, how this I-140 process will work for new employer? And what will be the process to work for new employer with I-140?
So you can file for a H1 based on your approval of your I-140 beyond 6 years. And by doing that, you can file a transfer to a new employer and you can work for the new employer on your H1. So that does not restrict you from working. Your I-140 cannot be used with the new employer, but your priority date can be used in the situation that you just gave us on screen. So the information that you're giving us, based on that, your priority date can be used, but you'll have to go through the labor cert process again, get the labor approved, file the I-140 again, and ask them to transfer your priority date. So that's how you go about the process.
Okay. Adhota, thank you so much for your question. I hope that answers. I hope Prashanti made it very clear. And if you have any further questions, we are here for some more time. All right. Now, this next question is a question that's that we cannot dodge in any episode. This is from Ravi G, asking any news of second time H1B lottery this year.
Yes, we have this question in every episode.
Every
Uh,
episode.
and And we are wondering ourselves whether there will be. Let's wait and see. I mean, I can speculate if you like, but it may be, it's just
Yes.
speculation. There might be, I'm hoping there will be a second lottery. So that's why maybe uh, I'm trying to be positive. So I'm saying that there might be. If I say that, maybe there will be, if we all think positive. Um,
Yes. We'll be all
so,
manifesting it.
yes, then it might happen. So, the lot, I mean, whether there's a second lottery or not depends on how many H1s were filed this year. Some people have told me, some companies, a lot of companies have told me that the market was not good and therefore they did not file the H1s even though they got picked in the registration. So if they don't get enough H1s filed, then they will have to have a second lottery. So based on the information I'm hearing from other employers, I'm saying that maybe there will be, but let's wait and see.
All right. Let's hope for the best, friends. And thank you so much, Ravi G. Let's hope and let's look forward. We'll be the first one to give you the news if we get to know of a second lottery happening for H1B this year. Thank you for your question. Moving on, Bipasha says, I can. Thanks. So there's another question from Bipasha asking, can you apply for an H1B visa in house? If yes, what documents would you need
Um, so when she says H1B visa in-house,
in
I'm
house?
thinking
What does that?
she means that she's working for a consulting company, but they don't have a client for her. But instead, they're going to hire her for an in-house project. Hopefully, I'm correct in my interpretation of what you mean by in-house.
Mhm.
In order to apply for that, you have to actually have a project. You have to have the company should have a product in place, and they should need you to develop that product. You have to show proof that there is a product in place. You have to show these kind of cases are always looked at suspiciously by USCIS. So it's important to provide as much information as possible. Uh, it helps if you can provide project report, if you provide screenshots, if you have spent any money already, if the employer has spent money on developing the product, then that, if you have any contracts already for use of the product, then you would submit that. If you have, say, an app store, we've purchased, an app uh,
Mhm.
for your product, then I would submit proof of that. If there is a patent um, on your product, then that would be good to submit that as well. So there are a lot of documents that can be submitted to show that the company actually has a product in place and that they need to hire you to develop that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for answering that for Bipasha. All the best, Bipasha. I hope that was clear. And if that's what you meant, let us know. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on now to this next question. This is from Hannah. As I navigate the process of obtaining an employment based green card, what are the primary eligibility criteria and distinctions among the five preference categories EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5? And how do these categories reflect varying levels of professional achievement, address skill shortages, and align the national interests?
This is by itself an entire episode. Um, so I will not answer it well, because if I have to answer it well, then it'll take an hour for me to answer it.
Okay.
So, guys, when you ask questions, please keep in mind that we have time constraints. So, try to ask questions that are specific to you and to your fact scenario, so we don't have to go through the entire gamut. We have, to a certain extent, gone through some information here, but let me answer it very quickly in 2 minutes. So EB1 is extraordinary ability if you have, or exceptional, actually extraordinary ability, because exceptional ability is EB2 national interest waiver, or if you have exceptional ability in the arts, in the sports, in sciences, in in anything, any field, in business. If you have extraordinary ability, if you won awards, etc., you might qualify for EB1 under that um, extraordinary ability. Or you can also have extraordinary ability as a researcher. So if you are a researcher and you've written a lot of papers, your papers have been cited, you've attended a lot of conferences,
Mhm.
your work or your research is important to the national interest of this country, then you can qualify as a researcher. EB2 is advanced degree holders. If the job requires an advanced degree is either a master's degree with up to 3 years of experience, or a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience also is considered to be an uh, advanced degree. So if your job requires either one of those, then you qualify for EB2. EB3 is for a bachelor's degree with up to 2 years of experience, then you qualify for EB3. EB4 is religious workers. So if you're a religious worker, you qualify for a green card based on that category. EB5, as we talked about, is investor visa. We talked a little bit about the EB5, investing into the US, and the time period that it takes to get the approval. So that's EB5. So those are the few categories all the categories that, they are under the employment-based category.
All right.
We talked about the professional levels of achievement required for each. And how do they align with the national interest? It really depends on what the market looks like. EB1
Mhm.
is always required because they're presumably extraordinary ability, and everyone wants people who have extraordinary ability, who are top in their field, because that will help the US economy and the national interests, and will further the national interests of the United States. The rest of the categories, I think, also are very important, EB2 and EB3, because especially in the IT sector, in the healthcare sector, nurses, doctors, and as I said, IT professionals, they're not enough in the US. If you have to look at homegrown IT professionals or homegrown healthcare workers, doctors, you don't have enough of them in the US. So those categories are important as well.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for making that clear. And since, this is a very, very huge topic, I think we should cover this in the near future, Prashanti. What do you say?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing actually in this whole topic is about that one question that
Yes.
she asked. So I'm glad we were able to kind of summarize it.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much, Hannah, for your question. And I hope that Prashanti made it very clear by answering it. All right. Meena says thank you. Thank you, Meena, for your question as well earlier. Now, moving on to this next one. This is from Tapan. Tapan asking, my I-765 and I-131 have been approved. I got my EAD card with advanced parole endorsement. I am looking forward to travel to my home country soon. I also have been maintaining my F1 status, but my visa is, let me look for the continuation. But my visa is, I cannot find the continuation.
And also, it's not clear on what basis the I-131 got approved.
Tapan, I'm so sorry we cannot take up answer your question right now, but thank you so much. All right, let's move on to sorry, SMV. Sorry, I cannot pronounce your name properly. I have an H1B approved fiscal year 25 with a company X, and I haven't done the stamping yet. I am getting much better offer now from different company. Can I transfer my H1B to a new employer before stamping?
So I'm presuming this person is in India and he's gotten an approval this year for his H1. He got selected in the lottery, filed it, and got his H1 approved, but he hasn't gone for stamping yet. Yeah, you're cap exempt since you already had a H1B approved. So you can file another H1 for consular processing at any point of time and then go for stamping with that new employer. So yes, you can.
Okay, that's great. There's a continuation. EB1C is managers with foreign experience of at least 1 year. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Thank you. Let's move on to the next. This next one is from Pradeep. I am on H1B visa and submitted my MART-based green card application last December. Got my biometrics appointment done earlier this month. My I-765, I-30, I-131, I-130, and I-485 is in process. Would it be okay for me to travel internationally on my H1B now, or would that jeopardize my marriage-based green card application?
I'm glad you told us what based. I was wondering what MART is, but then I saw the I-130 and realized it was marriage based application. Um, so no, you cannot travel until your advance parole is approved. Looks like uh, in process. So since your I-131 is not yet approved and it's in process, you should
There's a
wait until your
continuation. I'll
I-131.
just quickly take that up.
Let me
I am
that
sorry. Yes, sorry.
no problem. So as I was saying, the I-131 is not yet approved. So what I would do is wait for the I-131 advance parole to be approved before you can travel. You cannot travel in a family-based case, green card application. You cannot travel unless your advance parole is approved. Cannot. This is not an employment-based green card application, which is different, where you can travel on a H1, but for a family-based green card application, you cannot travel until your advance parole is approved. So if you do travel, your green card will get denied. So don't travel.
Okay. All right. So further, Pradeep is saying, I'm hearing it could make them consider my green card application abandoned, and I could face issues when I come back to USA. Is it true? Yes, it's true.
Well, you can come back to the US on a H1 visa, but you will not have a green card application pending. It will get denied.
So there you have it, Pradeep. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Prashanthi, for taking that up. Moving on now, we got Vishwa asking, what role does the National Interest Waiver (NIW) play in the EB2 green card category, and how can I demonstrate that my work is in the national interest of the United States?
So the only advantage of the EB2 is if you do not have an employer that's willing to file your green card, then you should file under EB2 NIW. And it's a very high standard to meet. You have to show that you are extraordinary ability. So you have to show that you have a high level of ability in your field, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, exceptional ability. It's confusing, extraordinary, exceptional. So anyway, it's a higher field than the EB1 category. I mean, the EB1 category is a higher field than the EB2 national interest waiver category, but it's the same premise that you are better than everyone else, and that your being in the US somehow is in the national interest of the country. So I wouldn't go with this at all unless I don't have an employer that's willing to file my green card. Otherwise, it's to EB2. So there's no advantage over this EB2 versus the other EB2, which is just based on your education and your job offer, right? Because it's still EB2. So there's really no advantage and a lot of work. And I would only do it if you don't have an employer.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking that up. And Vishwa, thank you for your question as well. Let's move on now, Prashanti. Let's take up another one quickly. This is from Sanjeet. In the event of a job loss during the green card application process, what are the options for maintaining status and continuing the application? Can I transfer my application to a new employer? EB1C is okay. Yeah, that's it.
Is the green card is the in the event of a job loss? Yeah, I think we kind of discussed on this. What are the options for maintaining status and
Yes.
continuing the application? Can I transfer my application to new employer? So we discussed this, but I will just reiterate it again. If you do not have a 485 pending, then you could possibly use the same priority date if you have an I-140 approved. You could transfer the priority date by filing the labor on I-140 again, and when the I-140 is being filed, request for your priority date to be transferred. If your 485 is already filed, then you can transfer your green card application, provided that 6 months is over and your I-140 has been approved. Then you can file via AC-21 by filing the form 485J. Provided that the job is same or similar, you can transfer your green card processing to a new employer. So there are certain terms and conditions have to be met. If they are met, then you can transfer.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for taking that up. And now let's take up this next one. This is from Ranjit. I have approved H1B fiscal year 22. I didn't stamping. I I I had come to the USA on H4. Now I can transfer my H1B with a different. How can I transfer my H1B with a different
Yeah.
company? If transferred, should I go for stamping?
Okay. You have good paraphrasing. But so, Ranjit, to answer your question, you've come here. We've understood. You've come here on a H4. Though you had a H1B approved, you didn't come on a H1. You came on a H4 instead. So now you want to know if you can file for a H1. Yes, you can file for a change of status from a H4 to a H1. Um, because you're cap exempt, because you had previously had an H1 approved. And if you have to travel once your H1 gets approved, then you have to file for, then yes, you have to go for stamping. But if you're not traveling, then you can file for a change of status, and you can start working on your H1 once it gets approved.
Okay. And what about transferring his H1B with a different company?
That you can always do. That has nothing to do with your green card filing. If your 6 years are over, then of course it does. Then you, if your I-140 is approved, then you can. I don't think they're over because it looks like he just came. So let's not even go into that scenario.
Okay. All right. I think we're almost coming to an end, but we'll quickly take up one more. I think. Well, this is from LinkedIn. How can one accurately predict the exact number of green cards available for each employment-based category 5 years from now, considering fluctuations in the economy, global events, and legislative changes? Is it possible to accurately predict anyway, Prashanti?
No, it isn't. And even Department of State cannot predict. And even the predictions that they make for the next year are just predictions. They're not even based on. They're not. It's not accurate science. They're just doing it based on an estimate or a guesstimate, an educated guess on how many people will actually file for a 485, which they don't know. So,
Mm-hmm.
and how many
Just
485s
get
will get
it.
approved.
Mm-hmm.
All that they have to consider when they're issuing the visa bulletin,
Mm-hmm.
because they can't approve or they cannot process more than the numbers that are available. So everything is based on a guesswork or an educated guesswork, I must say, even for the present year and for the next year. So 10 years from now, 5 years from now, really impossible to predict. But it doesn't look like it'll get any better. I don't see any reason why it would, unless there is some legislation that
Mm-hmm.
happens. Yes, if there's legislative change, global event, when there was COVID, all the visa numbers became suddenly jumped by 10 years. So
Okay.
we don't want that to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not Let's not say global events because they can only be bad. I can't think of any good global event that could make the dates move. But legislative action for sure. If they remove the cap on the number of green cards that can be filed, or if they increase the number of green cards that can be filed every year, or if they remove the family members from the number of green cards, and they don't use up a green card for each family member, then the green card numbers could double, and that could drastically change the priority dates as well. They can
Mhm,
move by 10 years if they double. So yes, those all those factors can definitely affect economy. I don't know, if not many people come to the US, then the demand goes down,
mhm.
right? Because jobs are not available. Then yes, that could positively affect, but we don't want the economy to go down either. So let's hope for legislative change.
Absolutely. Well, talking about predictions, there's another one also from a LinkedIn user. Will quickly, if you could quickly answer this as well. Uh, the whole question cannot be shown here, but I'll read it out. Given the complexities of immigration law and the constant changes in policy, how can one accurately predict the specific job roles that will be in highest demand for employment based green cards 5 years from now? Considering considering advancements in technology, hold on. Yes, global economic shifts and potential legislative reforms.
So the jobs that are in highest demand, that really doesn't matter from the EB2 and EB3, regular EB2 and EB3 filing, because
Okay.
for any job that you file, you don't get resumes anyway. We hardly, whatever IT jobs we file for some reason, there's already looks like there's no availability among US citizens and green card holders, right? So those are the only people that we have to consider when we're filing for the advertisements. Only if we
Hmm.
get US citizen and green card holder applicants, then we cannot proceed with the green card filing anymore.
Hmm.
And we never get those, very rarely for IT positions do we get that many applicants anyway. So there's a shortage for all IT positions anyway. So the type of job really doesn't matter, the high demand job. But the high demand job might matter for NIW EB2, where you're showing that it's in the best interest of United States, like AI kind of jobs. Um,
Yes.
and since there's an executive order also for AI to promote AI in the United States, if you can show that you're exceptional or extraordinary in that category, then you have a chance of filing an EB1 or an EB2 NIW. So in that sense, jobs that are in high demand
Highest demand,
do
yeah.
matter. Do matter. And can I predict which jobs will be in high demand? I am not qualified to predict that. But based on what the market is now and what I know, it seems like AI jobs are now in
For
high
sure.
demand. 5 years from now, it might be something else.
Who knows? Right. Thank you, Prashanthi, for taking that up. And we'll quickly take two more. If you can just briefly answer these as well, would be great because they look very interesting. This next one is from Vivek. In the event of job loss while 8 months pregnant and have just 2 months left on current valid H1B, which is maxing out in October next year, what are the options that I have right now?
Oh, why aren't you allowed to take leave, maternity leave if you're pregnant? Companies are mandated to give you maternity leave. You should not be losing your job unless it's for other reasons. And you can take any amount of maternity leave, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, on a H1 and not lose your H1 status. Um, so, you know, take maternity leave. But if you're losing your job for some reason, you have 60 days grace period, and you can try find another job within that 60 days. If that doesn't work out, then you can try to file for a change of status to a visitor's visa until you're able to work again. Um, and or you can move to an F1, which is difficult if you have a baby to immediately go to school unless there's some kind of online classes that you can take. So these are the options that you have.
Thank you, Prashanti, for taking that up. Vivek, thank you for your question.
You could
I
also
hope you can
move
get
to a
that.
H. You could also move to a H4 if your spouse is on a H1.
Before maternity leave, they terminated the job. That's
Yeah,
his
I saw that.
situation. Um,
Yeah, I saw that.
okay. Thank you, Vivek. I hope that answers your question. Now, moving on quickly, this is the last question we're taking up for today. This is from Becky. Hello, I'm working for US startup company remotely as electrical firmware engineer. Which type of visa category am I eligible? Can I apply for green card? And what are the requirement from my employer and from me?
I don't think we have time for this question. It'll take a long time, but let me try and answer as quickly as I can because
Thank
it
you.
does require a lot of explanation. And we are already 15 minutes over time. So, um, visa category that I'm available for, you should be available for a H1 if the job requires a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering or if the job requires a bachelor's degree in a specific field, you should be eligible for H1. You can apply for a green card. You can file for an EB2 or EB3 category, depending on whether the job requires a master's degree or a bachelor's degree. Um, and what is the other question?
The other question is, what are the requirements from my employer and from me?
We should discuss this more in detail because there's a lot of requirements from your employer. They have to file a labor cert, we have to file an I-140, you have to file a 485. For the H1, there are many, many requirements. So it's a very, very broad question.
So, Becky, I would suggest that maybe why not contact Attorney Prashanthi Reddy directly? And her details are 212, you can call her on this number, 212-354-1010, or just email her at prashanthi at reddyesq.com. And Prashanthi, to, I think, end our show, quickly, like if you could just, yeah, I mean, the topic for today, which is like, if you could answer briefly in half a minute or so, like how can one qualify for an employment based green card in the US, in brief, to end this whole session today?
Yeah, you can choose from the EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, or EB5 category. There are a lot of employment-based categories. Based on what your situation is, you have to look through each category, what they mean, who qualifies, and decide, which category you qualify for. And some are require a job offer. Some EB1 especially can be filed, or the EB2 NIW doesn't require a job offer. You can self-petition, so it really depends on what your situation is.
All right. Thank you so much, Prashanti. And with this, we've come to the end of our show today. Sadly, we had to cut it short. We probably couldn't take up each and every one of your questions, but please feel free to contact Prashanti. And thank you so much, Prashanti, for doing this today. It was really such an honor and a pleasure to have you back once again.
Thank you, Nipasa. Looking forward to the show next week.
Me too. Me too. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. And friends, thank you so much also for joining us today. And if you have any further questions, feel free to contact us. Prashanti's number is also on the screen, 212-354-1010. That's her number. And definitely email her, Prashanti at reddyesq.com, and also visit her website, reddyesq.com. And also, my number is also on the screen if you want to contact me in case you're looking for a project placement, H4, EADs, green cards, anything related to immigration or jobs. Feel free to write to me or call me on this number, 408-335-6444. And my email address is nipa at higheritpeople.com. And to get to know more about us, check out our website, www.higheritpeople.com. Thank you so much, friends, for joining us today. And another good news is that, Immigration and Jobs Talk Show is also coming up with their Telugu handle very, very soon. So look out for that. This is good news for all you Telugu speaking viewers out there. So, yes, look out for this good news and for the release of this Telugu channel. And another thing is, if you haven't already subscribed to us, friends, feel free and do subscribe to us, and also like and share this content if you think you resonated and it's going to be beneficial for your friends or family. Share our content and stay with us. It's going to be great because we keep coming with updates and we keep having live shows and discussions on interesting topics, all related to immigration and jobs. So thank you so much once again today for joining us. Y'all out there, have a great day and stay in touch with us by subscribing to our channel. And we are there not only on YouTube, but also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Our handle is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Thank you for joining us once again. This is Napasa Pradhan signing off for now.